professional trail builders, and the network is expanding a little bit with more tourism-oriented organizations. And we're trying to work as much as possible with land management agencies, forestry services, etc. during our annual mountain bike summits. Reason for me to be here today is to tell you a little bit about a new project that we're working on with a project consortium from 6 or 7 organizations from 6 countries, which has definitely some relevance with what we're talking about today, managing informal trails. I'm not going to dive in deeper in that topic because we're going to see something in the afternoon, but I'm just going to explain how this all fits in what you've been talking about and what kind of issues you are discussing here. We started a project called DIRT. It stands for Developing Inter-European Resources for Trail Builder Training. It's a long title. I can tell you how it started. It has to do with our Scottish colleagues that really wanted to have DIRT as acronym. So we just had to figure out something that would fit the word DIRT. First it was developing intergalactic rowdy tripping trails. Then for the European Commission we turned it into the European Resources for Trail Builder Training. What is it about? It's an Erasmus project, which means it's an educational project. We're focusing on strategic partnerships, and it's about innovation, education and training and innovation. Which also means that our project is a little bit of a black box. We don't know exactly what comes out of it at this moment, because it has to have this innovative character. We just started in September. We had a kickoff at the Trail Building Summit in Zermatt. It will take us 36 months to finish the project, at least this part of the project, and it needs to continue. And we work with 6 countries. The lead applicant is a technical high school from Norway, which is really good in civil engineering. We got Edinburgh Napier University as one of the academic partners. We work with Developing Mountain Biking in Scotland, which is officially Scottish Cycling. INBA DGI, which is the Danish National Sports Federation, which has an outdoor sector and is really good in volunteer management and training. We got Bikeplan, which is an agency that works on the development of mountain bike destinations. We got a lot of knowledge about landscaping, planning destinations, etc. And we got a partner in Portugal, which is a municipality. We use them also as a sort of training center. We had a bit of the problem with Norway, the UK, Switzerland, that for like training activities we miss 6-7 months per year because there's snow or the weather is just too bad. So we also needed a sort of European partner. And we got another one in Norway, which is a consortium of Norwegian municipalities working on a regional trail development project. So we got a bit of everything. And this is, well, the project consortium where we work with. What is the project about? We want to have a better understanding of the future situation of trail construction, trail management, among our own project consortium, but also outside it. So we're going to work with a lot of other stakeholders, which come together in national reference groups. I'll tell a little bit more about it later on. And we also want to see, okay, what kind of knowledge, what kind of competences do we don't have right now, and that we need to develop this whole sector, this whole domain of mountain bike trail building, trail management, maintenance, etc. So we need to identify and bridge those skill gaps. That's something that we're going to do in the project. After we've done that, and that's what I call about the black box, if we know what are the needs of the sector, whether you are a trail builder, commercial trail builder, a forestry agency, a volunteer group, a manager of a protected area, we need to get better insights. Okay, this is what we need to do, this is what is missing. And based on that information, we're going to start working on developing training programs. And we have a kind of idea which way it is going to move. 5 minutes, okay, moving on. And in the end, we need to create this kind of toolbox for educators in the sector, and we also need to train the educators. So there's going to be a train-the-trainer program, which is part of this European project. And in the end, it doesn't stop after 3 years. It needs to be a sort of continuous professional development. So we want to keep the whole network intact and make sure that if there are new or different needs in the market, that we develop new training programs as well. Certification is another part. It comes later. Just like what we've promised to the European Commission, there are two what we call intellectual outputs, which is a training concept for educators in the field of mountain bike trail development, and the final educational framework. And part of that final educational framework is also an online resource, which is like the basis of your curriculum for different kind of training programs. It should be free available because it's European money, so everything that we make is just is accessible for everyone. And part of that is also like an update of trail guidelines, because we need that if we're going to build an educational framework. We also need to know, okay, how are we going to assess the different competences, etc. What is the end result that we're looking for? I'd rather say guidelines instead of standards, because we have to work with national and local context. But at least it's part of this project. Why are we doing this right now? I think in the UK you've got a bit of an established kind of trail building sector compared to the rest of Europe. I think a lot of things started off here. INBA is from origin is a US-based organization. They've been building trails for 30, 40 years. And then I think Scotland, Wales, etc. were, well, one of the first countries here in Europe that really started to build trails, create trail centers, etc. And then the rest of Europe followed, more or less. But we see that it's a growing sector, and there's a lot more people that are enjoying the outdoors. So trail-based recreation is growing. Right now we're focusing on mountain biking, but could have done the same for hiking, etc. And we see that there are new trails, trail preferences going on, new trends are coming up. So there have been a few books about trail building and trail management, etc. And in a certain way they're already outdated, because it says nothing about e-mountain biking, it says nothing about managing unauthorized trails, it says nothing about how to manage trails or construct trails in Nature 2000 sites, etc. So the European context is missing a little bit. Moving on. And there's no official training programs, there's no official certification. Let's see. I'm going to push forward. And I think what we need to do, and this is a good example, is to share more knowledge and disseminate the knowledge that there is. So to have a sort of European network to do that is really important. We did a little bit of we did a preliminary survey to get some insight in people that are employees in the sector. What do they see? Well, one of the things that we found out is that they see that there's a lack of training programs, especially if they are there, then probably they're not close by. They see that they have a low number of applicants with the required skills or lack of specific competences. So we know that there, from the employer's kind of perspective, there's a need for better training opportunities. We had also this question in whether trail standards and trail classifications is important, because it's a bit of a tricky question. Not everybody is really glad with the term trail standards, especially the trail builders. They say, well, it's a craft. You cannot make not every trail should look the same, and we totally agree. But in a certain way, you need to come to a point where we agree on a certain kind of standards or guidelines. And fortunately, people agree on that. Certification is really important as well. That's we've seen it both in the forestry sector as in the trail building sector. Got 1 minute, I guess, so I need to continue. Get into the project and how people like you could get involved in this. The first step that we're taking right now is a survey that goes out to land managers, trail builders, volunteer groups, and in the end also to mountain bikers, because we don't want to have a mismatch of what we think that is needed, but it doesn't really work with the mountain biker because he has a different preference. So we need to bring that all together. Edinburgh Napier University is working on that right now. We plan to send out a survey somewhere in January, so everybody can sign up. I'm glad to collect your emails if you are interested to get involved in this project. Currently we are setting up the national reference groups. Each partner is doing that, and I'm doing that a little bit wider, broader than just the Netherlands. So I'm trying to make European reference groups with different kind of stakeholders. And then in March we know the outcomes of what's needed, what are the demands, what are the skill gaps, and then we're going to start with building a curriculum and training modules. We're going to do a trainer program and a pilot training, and then we need to update the whole educational framework and then implement it in different countries. And in some countries it will be in the educational system, like the technical high school in Norway wants to implement the courses in their curriculum. So it's going to be an official educational program. In some countries it's probably going to be organized a little bit different. And then after the project you need to review and refine the whole framework over and over again. How to get involved? Since most of the people here are, well, we have got some people from Scotland. If you're in Scotland, contact Developing Mountain Biking in Scotland, because they are setting up the national reference group. If you're outside of Scotland, contact me if you want to be involved in this project and want to learn more about it, or at least get the updates. What we want to do is we have our own annual European Mountain Bike Summit. For the next 3 years, we're definitely going to schedule meetings about this project for people outside the project consortium, other countries, to get updated, to get your opinions, etc. And use your knowledge to see if we're on the right way. That's pretty much it, because I'm running out of time. I'm not going to show the last videos though. This is a bit of what we're seeing. We're seeing kids right now getting involved in volunteer maintenance work, etc. So the perfect scenario is to get more kids involved in that, so that become skilled volunteers, and in the end that we have a more professional people working in the sector with like a clear career path that you can follow, so that you know that if there's someone that aspires to be a trail builder, that there's actually a training and an educational path that he can follow or she can follow to become one. And right now it's just a mixture of all kind of different modules and educational programs here and there. So that's about it for now. We need more time for questions, I guess.
Yeah.